Alright, hello again. We're going to tackle this word problem. It asks us to find two consecutive odd integers whose product is 483. So, our first thing that we have to tackle is making sure we know what consecutive means. Consecutive is kind of like how we organize a textbook. We have page 1, and then the next consecutive page is page 2, then page 3, and page 4, and keeps on going. We are asking for consecutive odd integers. So a first odd integer we'd have is something like 1, for example. The next odd integer would be 3, then 5, and these guys are consecutive. They continue on in this pattern. Now, we don't know what our first consecutive integer is, because it wants us to find them. So we have x. And you can use any variable you want to represent the unknown. Now, the next odd integer after x, well, even look at the pattern here. From 1 to 3, we add 2. From 3 to 5, we add 2. From 5 to 7, we add 2. So the next consecutive odd integer from x would be where we take 2 and add it to x. So those are our two consecutive odd integers. We just don't know what x is yet. And they tell us something further. They say whose product is 483. So when we set this up, we have x times x plus 2 is equal to 483. Now we just got to solve this. So x times x is x squared, x times 2 is 2x. And let's go ahead and be creative and bring that 483 to the other side. The reasoning behind this is because our standard form of a quadratic equation is always equal to 0. And if you're able to go ahead and factor 483 and find what two factors of him add up to 2, go for it. I'm not super great with my multiplication tables, so I'm going to go ahead and cheat and do an easier route. You can factor this, though. Give it a shot if you want to. What I'm going to go ahead and do is use the quadratic equation. Actually, even easier, I think. No, I don't think it's easier. We're going to use the quadratic equation. So we're going to do the opposite of the b term. So a is 1, b is 2, and c is negative ugly number, right? So opposite of b, plus or minus, square root, b squared, 4 squared. I'm sorry, 2 squared is 4, minus 4, a is 1, and c is that nightmare ugly number. All over 2a. Now once you plug this into the calculator, you should get two answers, a positive and a negative. Well, I'm sorry, a positive where you use the plus sign and then where you use the minus sign. You might get two positives or two negatives, we're not too sure. So go ahead, plug it into your calculator. I'm going to do it right now too. Okay, so after you've plugged it in, you should get, and let me go to a new page, x equals either 21 or x equals negative 23. Now be careful. We're not going to throw out necessarily any answers just yet. We'll go back and read the original problem. So hold on to your answers. It says find two consecutive odd integers. If you don't remember what the integers are, it is the set of the smallest negative you can think of, working its way up into 0, and then going into the positives, and keeps on going in that fashion. So, both of these are feasible answers. Now be careful. Our question, let's sneak back to it again, says find two consecutive odd integers whose product is 483. Well, we just found x. We need the second consecutive integer from x, who will be our product between the two, giving us 483. So here we had x is 21. So the next odd consecutive integer would be 23. And we could check ourselves. If 21 times 23 gets us the 483, then we're good. So you multiply those two together. I'm going to go ahead and do it long ways for old time's sake. Always miss multiplying. And we sure enough do get 283. I'm sorry. Crazy lady talking here. Oh, that just deleted everything. We get 483 if you go ahead and do it correctly. 2 times 2 is 4. So this does work. So here's one solution. And let's see if I can redeem myself now. Our second one, we have -23. So the next odd consecutive integer, so if we're going up, the next one would be -21. Right? And it's kind of just the opposite of those guys. Sure enough, when we multiply these two together, when they're both positive, they get 43, and a negative times a negative, sure enough, is a positive. So these are our two sets of answers. And that's all.